Sattler Files.
Welcome back to the Sattler Files, and it's law and order time. And I tell you what, when you look around and try and research for this program, we're never short of material, are we, Inspector Neil Royle?
Morning, Despene. No, we're not. No,
we're
not.
Never short of material.
And we should perhaps change the title of this program to law, order, disorder, unruly behaviour, dumb things,
crimes,
stupid acts,
misdemeanors.
Yeah, all those sorts of things, because there's plenty of them.
Yeah, we don't.
Thank heavens for that. Get
I
something
know
to talk
we
about
started off by talking about road issues, but there are so many other issues that we want to talk about, so we do.
Because if it affects the wider community, and if the wider community has an opinion, as we all do, the things that are poked down our throats through the electronic media day and night, some are good, some are interesting, some are ridiculous, but most are worthy of comment.
They certainly are, and you're never short of a comment, are you?
Well, we're never going to die wondering, however. If you're going to ask me what I think, I'm going to tell you. So,
you do.
And we all got an opinion. Some are good, some are bad, but we've all got them, though.
Okay, now let's go to the one of the topics of conversation in the last few days, and that's the Australian guys who stripped down at the Malaysian Grand Prix into budgie smugglers.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it's an overreaction by the Malaysian government wanting to charge them?
The answer to that, of course, is yes, that it is. And certainly if the Malaysian government are going to draw the very long bow that it's politically motivated, that too is a bit ridiculous.
Well, there was a flag on those budgie smugglers.
True. They had budgie smuggler written on them and the Malaysian flag across the bum.
Right.
And I thought, my first thought was, well, where'd they get these from? Did they buy them in Malaysia? If they bought them in Malaysia, there's a bit of a double banger there, because but no, they actually bought from a Sydney shop.
Okay.
And so that, which then, as various sections of our government will say, it was a preconceived idea, and it was willful act, and it was premeditated, and all the rest, because they bought them in Sydney to wear to the thingo to do their bit.
They knew what they were doing.
Oh, they planned it, and because there's a bunch of them, not one of them. There's about 6 or 7, is it? 6 or 7? There's a few of them anyway. So they're all there doing their bit, yes. And at trackside, when Ricardo has a win, obviously they were going to do that whether he had a win or loss. So they're holding up an Australian flag. They drop their dacks to their ankles. They've got their budgie smugglers on, and they're drinking whatever it is out of someone's shoe, which is another obscene act in my opinion. But never mind. And that's taken as being a national insult to the Malaysian government, an intentional insult to the government as well. So, and their penal code is pretty stiff, and people should really realise they're not in a democratic country when they go to those sorts of places there. The rules that apply here, and thus really democratic Australia,
very laxed.
Not wrong. They don't apply over there.
They certainly don't.
And these guys could be looking down the barrel if their prosecutors want to get real nasty about it. And it sounds like, if they're using the term, an intentional insult to the nation of Malaysia. Well, they could be looking down the barrel of 2 years, according to their penal code, in jail.
Yeah.
And because they reckon that this was not only an international insult, but an intention to provoke a breach of the peace. Well, I don't know about that.
They're calling it an indecent act.
Well, they weren't naked.
No, they weren't naked.
In Australia, that sort of stuff, if you're wearing those sort of things on the beach, it would be at worst underwear.
A fashion faux pas, if nothing else.
And at best, it'd be beachwear. And if you're Tony Abbott, it would be an international offence for him to he wore it day and night, didn't he?
He did.
So I asked the question then, all right then, so let's look at what happens here. So if this is, according to them, a lewd act, rightio, and the rest of it, then I've been offended the last 3 or 4, probably 3 Australia Day weekends in a row where I've been down and I've observed very attractive females wearing bikinis modelled after the Australian flag.
Yes.
Have you not seen those?
I have seen them.
And they have Australian, so you've got a 3-piece bathing suit with bits of the Australian flag and various bits there.
Strategically placed.
Absolutely. So why aren't those women in jail?
I don't know.
Why don't we lock them up? Why don't we do this? It's a disgrace. The people who do that. I don't know what it is. So
an insult to the flag, you're saying?
Oh well, and then that's how. And you used the word lax a while ago, which is a great word to use when it comes to the democracy in this country. And love this country as we do. We are extremely ultra tolerant of people that abuse and insult what we do, i.e., burning the Australian flag and doing various other things that they do.
Oh, absolutely. We're not happy about that.
And they would string you up in other countries. Here we go. Oh no, what's freedom of speech?
We just don't like it. Yes.
They're allowed to because they're entitled to their opinion.
If you burn the flag in the States, it's a big deal, isn't it?
They borderline that as treasonable.
They do, don't they?
They do indeed. So, and if that's the case, and that's the laws of the land, you wouldn't go around burning one.
Well, it would stop you.
Well, yeah, indeed. And you wouldn't
get
any
years of incarceration in a highly controlled prison would not be appealing.
No, and you won't get. And when it comes to the true blue, red-blooded American type people, though, will get no sympathetic ear at all for burning the stars and stripes.
No. Look, just going back to this incident in Kuala Lumpur. I mean, they weren't 17-year-old guys high on drink or whatever. They were actually grown men.
Yeah.
I mean, mature men. Some of them, or one of them, actually holds a high-ranking position in Christopher Pyne's office, in the minister's office.
Yeah, he's a staffer in there, so you have to have a few clues, and I don't know why. And it is, I thought there's 5 or 6. Actually, there's 9 of them.
9.
Why amongst the 9, someone of the 9 hadn't said, "This is not really a good idea.
Maybe we shouldn't do this."
But no, it's
and
all
they were
in together,
also
boys.
doing something they call shoeing or shoey. They were drinking out of their shoes. They don't say whether they were drinking alcohol, because I don't think they'd be able to do that.
I don't think you can stand trackside in the public in Malaysia and drink alcohol. I don't think you've got to be indoors or something or other.
But isn't shoey something that is quite common at motorsports? It's almost
shoey is quite common.
It's like shaking the bottle, the champagne bottle, and letting it spray all over the place.
Well, shoey is also a league footballer for the West Coast Eagles. I don't know if he's common or not, but
no, I don't.
But shoey is that's Ricard, Danny Riccardi with his. He started that drinking out, and then he got the others who came second and third who were going, "Oh, give me a break, will you?" to drink out of it as well. So you got some sweaty old driving boot that had been on the racetrack for 6 hours with his sweaty old foot in it. Now you're going to drink
not that
some.
Appealing, is it?
I don't think so. No, and that's probably more offensive than wearing buggy smugglers.
I would imagine
drinking
it
out of the
be.
shoe.
Oh, yeah.
So boys, I certainly hope you've got a good legal team with you. Because,
a very good legal team.
The Malaysian government are saying that we open our doors to tourists, we try to treat them as well as we can, sometimes even better than our own people. But when they come here with the intention to commit indecent acts to embarrass us,
and because they took the budgie smugglers from Australia to do this,
they didn't even buy local product budgie smugglers, which would probably help the cause a bit. So Christopher Pyne's man and his 8 mates are going to have a bit of a problem, I'd suggest. If they come out of it with a fine, they're lucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because these sort of governments are rather inclined to make examples. And, again, we say, when you go to these countries here, it is not downtown Sydney.
No.
It is not colourful West End of Melbourne.
Ask Chappelle Corby what it's like going to another country and having to live by their rules.
Exactly. And if you're not too sure whether there's going to be an offence there or not, check it before you go.
Well, don't do it. How about just not doing it?
Well, I'm not courageous enough to do it in this country here.
No.
Let alone go over there. But
well, you've got some pride in yourself. You wouldn't be seen dead in a pair of budgie smugglers.
You're not wrong. Or lycra.
Or lycra.
No.
Yeah.
So there you go, boys, in Malaysia. And anybody else going to Malaysia and whatever Grand Prix is on there, keep all your clothes on.
Or anything else. Just, abide by the rules, for goodness sake.
And you girls on the beach on Australia Day, don't you dare wear bikinis with Australian flags on them, or I'll be writing in.
You're highly offended, aren't you, by that?
I'm writing in.
Yeah, go. I don't know who you're going to write to, but
who's going to read it? Nobody will read it.
All right, moving along. What major traffic lights could be set to red at night? Now, why would they do that? Leave them permanently on red all night.
Well, as it is now...
How do you manage to drive home then?
Well, because the main roads are talking about doing a desktop study known as the concept on dwell on red.
Well, hang on. When you call it, what is a desktop study? So basically they're researching on their computers.
They sit around like you and I now and we'll just talk to each other about it and draw little things and get up on the whiteboard. And why haven't you got a whiteboard? Get us a whiteboard so we can talk.
I've got a whiteboard. It's over there. In the corner there.
Oh, all right, then we'll get up there. That's what they will do. And they'll talk about dwell on red. It's a part of a wider investigation into new signalling techniques for traffic control lights. Yes, we know that the main roads and government have been heavily involved in the past 2 years on trying to reconfigure the time taken to get from your house to your work and back again at peak hour traffic by changing the flow times on the major carriageway and making people wait on the minor carriageways. And that's fine. And they're saying that they've taken from the northern corridor into the city about 7 minutes off someone's daily travel, and which is wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Yeah, so...
Unless you're trying to use those less congested roads and you find that once you hit one red light, you're going to hit red lights all the way through.
And you will. So they're saying that where the traffic lights stay stay red. And say they're looking at, say, middle of the night and those sort of things where it stays red, and then it's triggered by an oncoming car to turn it to green. Mm-hmm. Well, this is what the concept they're talking about now is that red lights will change to green automatically on the approach of a car.
Right.
So that means you were probably sat in the side streets forever. But it's used in other countries around the world and at only particular times of day. But when you consider that, when did I first read about it? 2006, I think I read about it, that that legislation was introduced in this state here, and it's on the statutes, but it's never been enacted. It's there in the road traffic code, which will enable you to turn left at a red traffic control light after you've stopped at it and made sure that the intersection is clear. Mm-hmm. So the legislation allows for you to approach a red traffic control light if you intend to turn left. If it is red,
they do that in America. Do they do that in the eastern states?
Lots of places that do it.
Yeah.
I don't know where else in Australia, but certainly a lot of places overseas do.
Definitely in the States they do that. And
you must come to a stop first at the red light, then have a look to the right, and then and off you go. And that's already there in the road traffic code in Western Australia to allow you to do that, except for there's that one little bit missing. And it says you can do all these things if there's a sign erected to permit it.
Yeah,
and at this point in time, that hasn't happened.
I was going to say I've never seen a sign.
No, that's the last step needed by the West Australian Government and Main Roads and Company to allow left turns at red traffic control lights once a sign is put on the pole saying left turn against red permitted, but that hasn't happened yet.
Is there a problem with budgeting issues? Why can't they put that sign up?
I think it's attack of the vapors. I think they're a little bit concerned, knowing how sloppy some of West Australian drivers are, that someone's going to take licence and, well, you can go through a red as long as you stop.
Yeah.
And that, no, you can turn left at a red after.
In the heat of the moment, I didn't see that it actually said we're only turning left.
And I thought there was a sign there and all that sort of stuff there. So
I can
that's
imagine.
why it's been there since 2006 and no one's plugged it in. So it might flow on from this dwell on red that they're talking about now. If someone wants to elaborate further on this red traffic control light situation. Mm-hmm.
So who's it up to? Who's going to make that final call?
Well, the competent sign erecting authority in this state is Main Roads.
Right.
So they have the one to do that. So Dean Nelda's gone. Perhaps the new man might
do it.
Say, this is a good idea. Let's have a look at this.
Well, we can live in hope, can't we?
Someone might actually break a golden rule and actually drag out the road traffic code and have a bit of a read of it because there's some good stuff in there. And is that right? You can
for a rainy day when you've got nothing better to do.
Yeah, just turn to section 302 of the road traffic code. Oh, you can turn left at a red traffic code. Can you really? Yes, it's there. So if they're serious about it and they want to, but they're frightened about the licence people will take and how they'll abuse it, the first thing they'll do is, look at stop signs, for example. Stop signs as opposed to give way signs. You both have to give way to all traffic turning from the intersecting road.
Right.
Travelling along or turning from the intersecting road, that's for stop signs and give way signs. The only difference between the two is give way sign, you don't have to stop.
No.
Stop sign, you do. Still have
your wheels literally have to stop.
That white line associated with the stop sign, you can't go over that until you've stopped. And if you're 15th in the queue, guess what? Everyone, all 15, have to stop at the white light.
Right.
And that's why the coppers
if
sit
your
around.
tyres are over the white line...
Doesn't matter, as long as you've stopped.
As long as you've stopped.
That's
They're not going to be that picky.
No, the white line is a guide to say that's the intersection.
Right.
The prolongations of the lateral boundary, whatever they call it. And that's...
Now say that again.
The prolongations of the lateral boundaries. So it's there as a guide for you, a stopping guide for that sign there. So the coppers sit around the corner on various stop sign intersections and just watch them all rolling through. And just drag them in, one after the other.
One after another.
And people say, well, I did. And the copper will say, the sign doesn't say slow down and have a look.
It says
stop. So that is the difference. So if people are still ignoring the stop sign situation, I suppose government and Main Roads are a little bit warranted in their thoughts of, well, if they can't get it right for stop signs,
they're not going to get it right for a red light.
They're going to go through red lights, which are going through a red light, which means someone is acting appropriately on a green one. Coming the other way, you're going to cause big problems.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it is dare I say it, an education thing, but it is doable. I mean, once upon a time, there were no traffic lights and you give way to the right and all that sort of hoo-ha. And that still applies when the traffic lights go out. But find someone who understands that rule and is about as good as going on a roundabout. Know what you're doing.
It'd be like starting you off on merging traffic. But
Or roundabouts.
Or roundabouts.
Yes, indeed.
I know.
So don't. I'll burst into tears.
No, don't. No, please don't burst into tears. All right, what else are we going to talk about?
What about retired Assistant Commissioner Bob Kachira, a fine
Good
fellow
old
that
Bob.
he is.
Bob's back.
He's a fine fellow. He was on television during the course of the week, and he was. They sought him out for his opinion, being a past assistant commissioner, a long-time serving police officer, and of course a retired politician, parliamentarian, and a fellow who's got a real good grasp on law and order issues and the bigger picture. And because they're approaching him with what his thoughts are on the alarming and disgraceful road toll in the state
It's
at the moment.
shocking.
Yep.
What, 7 last weekend?
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yep. And so guess what Mr. Kachira's got to say for himself?
What?
What we need is the return of a dedicated traffic enforcement body, highway patrol.
Oh, my goodness. He's been listening to the show.
I think he has too. And don't go picking my ideas, Mr. Kachira, okay? Because you're a good bloke. And plagiarism of the worst kind.
Yeah, no, don't steal. He's on your hobby horse. You've been saying this for, 30 years?
Absolutely. And he was actually saying things which had little tears welling in my eyes, like the Road Traffic Authority had it under control when they were in place because they were dedicated to seek out and do so-and-so. And he said, get in your motor car now and drive from Perth to Albany. He said on TV to the politician, get in your motor car now and drive from Perth to Albany. If you see it, please carol on the way, let us know, because you won't. And the number of, and of course the lion's share of these fatalities that are taking place are in rural WA,
right, in
regional Western Australia. And that's because if they're thin on the ground in Metro, guess what? They're non-existent in regional Western Australia. Michelle Fife, I think she's acting Deputy Commissioner at the minute, and they labelled her as the State Traffic Commander or something or other. I don't know that she is at the minute, but she was. Came out and said that in response to Mr. Kachira's line, it's all right for Mr. Kachira to talk about the good old days. And I wonder what that meant.
That's a bit of a put down.
The good old days, but we have the technology and the infrastructure to keep things under control, whatever she said. But she's referring to speed cameras, of course.
Yeah.
And here we go again. So I thought it was a bit pointed to use the term the good old days. Well, I don't know what the good old days. Perhaps the good old days is when the road toll was substantially less.
Yes, but I don't think that's what she meant.
Neither do I. I think it's telling Mr. Kachira to mind his own business.
Something like that.
But in
other words, you're retired, stay retired.
That's right.
And leave us to do our job.
The experts do this. And so the technology and the expertise and the infrastructure that is in place, all those things there, like that, it really would have saved the death of those three in Kununurra, was it not? Where a 16-year-old it is alleged, a 16-year-old was driving the car and tipped over and killed two others, including himself. So the technology really would have saved the issue there, because he's not even entitled to drive.
Exactly.
So those sort of things, the electronic instruments and
but who
infrastructure.
Gets in a car with a 16-year-old driving?
Someone wants to go somewhere,
or who's been boozing and thinks that it's safer.
Well, because it's probably the only mode of transport, and it's a long way to walk from where they're going to go to, and it's hot, and it's the rest of it. So
it's all about country roads, and of course, it's the biggest issue.
Yeah, and when you take into consideration the chances of getting caught,
yes,
well, guess what? It's worth the risk.
Yeah,
and off they go, and of course, you've got untrained people driving motor cars and tip over and kill three, including themselves. So there's no getting away from it. I was talking to some fellows the other day who are from regional WA, and they mentioned, we're talking about, because they know my background, and they're talking about the Road Traffic Authority. And they were saying, oh, yeah, we remember, because whatever country town they came from, and I know it is, I won't say what it is, but they were saying that when we got the word that the RTA was coming to town, we just all pulled our heads in, and most of us didn't even go out unless someone was driving us, because we knew if they pulled you up, you won't get a warning. No. The only warning will be, here's your ticket and don't do it again.
Yes.
And they were keenly aware of that, because with the utmost respect to country police that I have.
I remember as a new driver with the RTA were on the road. If you saw an RTA car, you were shaking in your boots.
And the reason being is they are hunters and gatherers. When it comes to policing, you have active, proactive and reactive policing.
Right.
So, and as I said, with utmost respect to country police, I also used to be one of those. Certainly if things are nice and quiet and colourful downtown Muck and Boodin, and there's nothing much going on, and it's either 104 in the water bag or freezing cold and raining, there's no real need for you to get out of the police station. Just sit in there, and if someone wants you, they'll ring you.
Yeah, you'll be called. That's
a reactive type of policing. The true traffic cop and the RHA was full of those. And the traffic enforcement group was created for that same purpose as well. Their role is to patrol.
Right.
And they are, as I say, the hunters and gatherers. They can't sit in the police station because guess what's going to happen? At the end of the shift, the sergeant said, how'd you go today? Where'd you patrol? Who'd you speak to? How many people did you stop? What did you do? Well, I didn't do anything. It was raining. Well, you're going to get his backside kicked until his nose bleeds.
Yes.
Because his job is to get out there and patrol, be seen. All right, if you're out there and the only person on the road is you and Farmer Jack, doesn't matter. Farmer Jack sees you and says, hey, it's pouring down and raining. The only two idiots out on the road are me and him. Well, good. The him that's in the traffic car is being paid to do that, to keep these people alive for as long as possible.
Yeah.
So that's what's got to happen. There's got to be that patrolling situation. But it's dropped off now to the extent where the experts in the field of traffic enforcement, and it is a specialist field, make no mistake about that. There's lots in the Road Traffic Code and the Traffic Act and the Vehicle Standards Regulations, the blood testing, and all this sort of stuff there, which you do need to study carefully and know how to implement it as far as the enforcing the laws of the land. And a lot of people who are busy with doing crime and doing domestic issues and doing thefts and haven't got time for the traffic stuff. And that's patently clear because when the amalgamation of police all came together and they all said, well, everyone's going to do everything now, so there's no dedicated traffic, there's no dedicated GDs, everyone does everything together. So if the GD man is driving along and he's on the way to do a break-in at a house and he sees a guy without his seatbelt, he should be stopping him and give him a ticket for his seatbelt. But that went by the by because it took him longer to go to the job.
Right.
Or, woe betide, if he stopped the guy with a no seatbelt and he was under suspension or was drunk or was unaffected by it because he didn't get to go to the break-in at all because he had to take him back to the police station and lock him up. Then he got his sergeant kicking his backside again saying, what the hell are you doing?
Where have you been?
Exactly. And so you have this... We haven't got time to do that, so we won't do that. We had situations where the general duties police would complain that they were getting overrun with burglaries in a certain suburb, and down the street were 6 traffic coppers down the side of the road with a radar getting speeders, and they complained about them. And so they were plucked out of there to go and do other things. So it got in a big mishmash, and now you just pick and choose at selective policing at the minute. So the direction is not there. Bob Couture would know as good as me, and that's why he's on TV saying so. Where is the direction coming from senior command to what the role of police officers to do traffic enforcement duties are to do? Is it a matter of getting more to do it? Is it a matter of getting a separate body to do just that? Well, there's certainly an argument for that for both sides of the coin, and there certainly is an argument that it is needed and long overdue.
Definitely long overdue.
Yeah. So I'll get off this soapbox now because I'm getting a nosebleed so high in the air. And it sounds like I'm lecturing you, but I'm not.
No, you're not lecturing me at all. No, it's your passion. It always has been, and it always will be.
And it won't go away because until someone tells me I'm wrong, the runs are on the board. Like if people are getting killed hand over fist, it isn't being done properly.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that. It's only good common sense. Easy for us to say, I know, stepping back and looking in, but there is room for improvement.
What's that old saying? Looking back in retrospect?
Looking back in retrospect, yes.
Love it.
Always look better in retrospect.
So let's hope that, I'm glad Mr. Cashier got on TV and those bits there because he is a much revered person and he's got his wits about him. He tells it like it is. He doesn't need to wonder what the senior brass will think of him saying that because he's not there anymore.
He doesn't care.
And he can get to tell it like it is.
He's allowed to have his opinion now.
Absolutely.
Just like you are.
And here we are.
Unleashed. Bob Couture.
Yeah, good on you, Mr. Couture. Good on you, mate.
Inspector Neil Royle, unleashed.
We've done well.
We have done well. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Look, it's my pleasure as always. And tomorrow, next Wednesday, I'm going to dash back and do it again.
I think you should.
I will.
This is the Sattler File.